Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a brand new project, a Moana inspired water park in Planet Coaster 2. I've always wanted to bring this theme to life, and I recently just watched the movie, and with the new water features in the game, it's the perfect time to make it happen. I feel like Moana is the perfect example to start a water park since it's very much based upon water and nature. And in this video we're gonna be building the Moana house, the Te Fiti statue, and we're gonna look into making a layout of the park where we can place our theme pools and even the glowing rock cave. We'll cover how to start a new project, from gathering inspiration to planning a park layout, and then we'll dive into a speed build of the entrance area. So let's jump in and see how we can start a new themed park. Starting a new park can be very overwhelming, especially if you're aiming for a specific theme like Moana's Polynesian paradise. But the first thing I recommend is finding the right inspiration and reference material. You can do so by making a Pinterest folder and searching for Moana or Polynesian theme, and afterwards put everything into the folder and have a collective folder where you can find your inspiration and materials in. This will help you guide you, not just in terms of visuals, but in creating a cohesive look and feel for your entire project. You have to begin with the importance of finding inspiration to help focus your design choices and prevent getting lost or overwhelmed. A solid theme and a reference can act like a roadmap for all the aspects of your build. For a theme like this, I started by gathering images from a variety of sources. The goal is to capture the essence of and the look and feel of the Moana movie. For the Moana theme, I focused on images that had lots of lush greenery, ocean blues, and natural materials like wood and stone. This will guide everything from the textures we choose for buildings to the colors of our signage. When it comes to sources, I like to use a mix of movie scenes, concept art, and real-life Polynesian architecture. Each source provides unique inspiration, whether it's the fantasy vibe of the Moana movie or an authentic details from real-life locations. With references in hand, I try to identify the key elements I want to carry through the entire park for our Moana Waterpark. The main elements will be natural textures, ocean-inspired colors, and Polynesian architecture. And to keep things cohesive, I'll use natural textures on most of my buildings and lots of tropical plants to create that lush, inviting vibe we see in Moana. Now that we have a strong foundation with our references, let's move on to the next step, creating an outline for the park layout. This will help us plan where each area and attraction will go, so everything flows together smoothly. Before diving into individual attractions or buildings, it's essential to have an outline of your park's layout. This step helps ensure that everything flows well together and that guests have a clear, enjoyable path through each area. Changes can always be made throughout the whole park progression when you build and add more things, so you don't have to go for the final layout. This is kind of more of your template of where you want to do your park layouting. What I do is that I use the terrain tool to kind of like mark up some stuff and kind of like get an overview look on how I want things. So I know what I want to have in the park. I want to have 3 flat rides. I want to have a lazy river. I want to have a wave pool, and I want to have 1 or 2 pools that have slides, and then we're gonna have a log flume ride, which is gonna be a dog ride in a sense. So that's kind of like what I want to have, and that's also what helps me looking throughout material of inspiration and resources, because it really helps me getting ideas in my head and what I want to do. So basically is that I want to have this sort of little circle in the middle, and I want to have a big rocky mountain being the centerpiece of the park, and then pretty much there I want to just build around it and kind of like fit in where these attractions will be appropriate for people, and kind of like how we can roam around the whole park and you can be able to see everything around. You can always take inspiration from other real life parks or water parks, which I have done in other projects as well. Now we are at the speed build here in the built, and the first thing I am starting with is the house of Moana. And this is like, with the thatch roof we have, it was a little bit difficult to figure out how to get the perfect shape and everything, and since a lot of these pieces are gridded, I had to like find a way to not have gridded pieces. So I found a few pieces, like you can see there's this little hay bale here, which unfortunately can't be recolored, but I found my way through it and kind of like attach a lot of things on top of it. So we kind of like made it look a little bit more like it actually fits in the build. So basically what I'm doing is that, as you can see, as we did on the Pinterest folder, we found a lot of inspiration, and one of these was the picture of the house here in Moana, and I felt like that it would be the perfect entrance to the park. And with that said, like, we're gonna try recreate it as good as possible in this video, as you can see, but then I will eventually add like a little curve entrance way to the park, so people can kind of focus and go through here if they want to, or take one of the other entrances to the park. What this gonna be inside here is gonna have a little, it's gonna have a full interior, 2 shops, and a little souvenir interior that I'm also making. But we're gonna kind of like skip through a little bit of these things and just focus on more of the relevant stuff to the video here. I know I did, my first video was an entrance tutorial video, but this is kind of like how you start a park with layout and inspiration sources and all the material you need to get started. And it is very, very important for a project like that, because it really gets you groove on and it just keeps you going in any way. And that's what I really, really like about starting a new project, is finding all the inspiration, all the material you need, and then afterwards you are kind of like good to go, and you don't really have a stop button here, which I find very, very nice. So yeah, we're kind of like just building the thatch roof here, as you can see, doing a little bit of a custom, because we have a lot of these pieces that unfortunately are not so good. So yeah, just finishing up this little front here, and then afterwards I'm trying to find a way to blend in the rest of the thatch roof to this little guy here. And I found out that you can actually recolor the thatch roof, which I didn't know in the start. So I was like, okay, let me just recolor it to a little bit of a different lighter color that kind of like fits this vibe here. And then afterwards I'm adding these little domer small thatch roofs here that kind of like, as you can see, blends in with what I just did. And it kind of makes it feel better. It doesn't seem so like crazy, like random, that you have this like very bright like yellowish on the hay bales, and then you have a different color on the thatch roof. So it's kind of like finding a way through it all here. So when I'm done this, I kind of like attach more thatch roof on top, because now I kind of like have the arch, the shape towards the entrance to this little build here. And afterwards we're kind of like just moving along and setting other things in works. So but I'm going to skip through a lot of things here and just kind of like explain the basis of what I am doing here. So pretty much, as I said, trying to find places to replace this guy here, so we get rid of this sort of hay bale texture. After that really, really works well. And as you can see, it really blends in together nicely. So afterwards here, we are changing the little top here, so we can kind of like mix the arch to the top, like the top point of this kind of thatch roof here. And after that, we're kind of going over to trying to like implement this Polynesian vibe, this Moana vibe. And remember, I am really trying to recreate the build, the house, as good as I can. So I'm trying to find the pieces that would work for each section. And I feel like with kind of like getting to know the game a bit, the pieces, I feel like we found some pretty good pieces to use here. Like the Viking pieces really came in clutch here, because they have like this sort of super nice, as you can see here, like this trim and really like patterns onto the wood pieces here. And that's kind of like what I was needing and I was missing throughout the build here. And when I found them, I was like, okay, this is actually gonna be perfection. This is gonna be so good when I can implement all this together. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. So I'm kind of like just figuring out stuff to do more or less as I go along. And as you can see here, I found this flower bed too, because on the picture they have like these nice flowers going up along the pillars and along this sort of entrance arch that they have. And as you can see, I mixed up a little bit of stuff and kind of like cut it to where I have like the top, but that's because I kind of changed it because I wasn't really feeling it. And there's like a little flower trim piece onto this top here, and that's kind of like the one that you've seen me build right now. It's pretty simple, but I wanted to, there was no pieces in the game that could kind of like do what I wanted it to do. So sometimes you just kind of have to, you know, just do it yourself, which this game is all about pretty much. So that's kind of like what I did. And then afterwards, I just kind of like, you know, duplicate it, spin it around. So I kind of like get this super nice flower shape into this build here. And I gotta say, it actually turned out pretty well. So that's always something, and I really like that the scaling can help you out so much in this game. And it's just perfect that we have this feature now. It really makes the thinking progress, I feel like, and also the building progress in general, a lot faster. I've heard a lot of people say because of all the clicking you have to do, and it's a lot of things takes a lot more time. But I don't feel like it is like that. I feel like if you just kind of like have a goal in mind and you know kind of like where to start, it's kind of like just to take it from there and just go with it, and don't have all these sort of like brainstorming farts, what do you want to say, where you just don't know what you want to do. And I feel like with having the scaling option just makes everything so much better. So as you can see here, we kind of like added the flower up top here. And then afterwards, we kind of like just trying to find a way to trim it extra so it actually looks like the one in the movie. So after we kind of like got the shape of the hut here, kind of, we are putting in a little bit more trim pieces from the Viking pack, but I'm also recolor them to the kind of like colors that I want it to be. So pretty much just adding this little foundation to the pillars that we kind of like have, that is kind of like holding up the structure here. And that's pretty much what I'm doing with the bottom of this here. Before I add some flowers and a little bit of flower beds and a little bit of rustic woods and stone around this whole building, I'm just adding this for now, because we are moving over to this little section here. And this is what I said that I was doing. So to get like a nice entrance, I'm kind of like trying to get this nice little oval shape that kind of like goes in a little half circle. And then afterwards I'm adding some ticket booths. I'm cutting in a little bit of stuff here and there, guys. So you guys are just kind of like getting the most relevant stuff that is important for this video here. So basically I'm just doing a very quick setup here with this, and then afterwards I'm just duplicating it, and as I say, just twisting it all the way around in a little half a circle situation, and it really just works well, and it gives it a nice little shape to this whole plaza here. I also did a little bit of pathing that you guys will eventually just see be there, and because the pathing again, it's just pathing. There's not really any interesting things about it. So we're focusing here again, just moving these bits all the way around, so we kind of like get this super nice welcoming entrance here before I start adding a lot more detail. But now we are going into a little bit more funnier part. This is a Te Fiti, and you know, it's the big nature girl in the movie that obviously I want to do a bigger version of it in the park as well. But I wanted it to have it like here in the entrance, like a little miniature. And I thought with the scaling, it might be possible to kind of like actually make a nice looking nature statue of her. So that's kind of like what you see me doing here. And I gotta say, I'm usually not the person to kind of like make characters and stuff, right? But there's also a reason why I'm not adding eyes and mouth, because then you got this and it just looks very fun, you know. And we don't want to do that, so I kind of like just kept no eyes or mouth onto this here. So it's mainly just a bare face, but you can still kind of see what it is. And as you can see, I really did try add like facial expression on here. It just didn't work. Everything I did just made it look super cursed. So I just kind of like jumped away from that and just kept on going and didn't want any interruption with that. Luckily, we have the Poseidon statue that I could use the hand off and kind of like recolor it to this kind of greenish color, which really now just made the thing pop up and actually be what it is. And then afterwards, again, just adding a face, but no expressions on it. It's mainly just this, so it kind of like works very well. I did eventually do a little bit of scaling on it, so it became a little bit smaller. And then afterwards here, I'm just making a nice little entrance that kind of like presents where are you going and where are you at. And I really like this little entrance here because it just works very well together. And yeah, it's just awesome. And you gotta think about these things. That's also why I said that when I'm doing this entrance, I'm trying to combine things that are from the movie. We took the Moana hut and I kind of like integrated that into an entrance. I took Te Fiti and kind of like made her part of the sign that I'm doing here now. And then now we're doing this little signature, as you know, that is on the ship as well. And I felt like that was kind of neat. It's kind of like something we needed to have represented too for the entrance. So that's kind of like what I'm doing here too, giving it a purple color and then attaching it to the rock wall for the little entrance statue we got here. And then afterwards I'm writing Moana Waterpark into it. So the whole basis of this park too is kind of like, even though it's like fantasy and it's very Disney-esque, I will still try to keep it very, very simple in that way of being realistic. And I also already know what I kind of want to have, as you guys saw me speak about in the quick layouts in the start of the video. Like, I know I want some water areas. I want a log flume and maybe, you know, 2 or 3 flat rides. I don't know if we will add a coaster, because that's not the whole purpose. The whole purpose of this park is mainly to get around and play around with the whole new water features, the pool, the slides, the wave pools, and all that stuff. It's gonna be super, super fun, and I am very excited to get started with it. And I also want to say that this entrance kind of like turned out way better than I anticipated. So I'm really, really happy for that. And we are moving towards here where I'm gonna add the sign, and I'm always using the edible text sign because it just works better and you have a lot more fonts. You can, and I really like this Aladdin one here. So I'm kind of like just adding this on top here, and then afterwards we're writing Waterpark, and then basically we kind of like have this nice little entrance sign completed now, and we can move on to the next thing to the build here. We are going to do a little bit more ticket booths. You will see the right side pretty quick, and then we are just going over to kind of like do a little bit of interior and exterior work all the way around this little entrance here. So we are continuing here on the sides, where I'm going to add that Polynesian kind of lush environment with a little bit of trees and bushes, palm trees, a little bit of rocks and some wood textures to kind of like get the balance out of everything here, as you see. So we're basically just adding, as I say, a lot of Polynesian nature and scenery here around this whole plaza that we've been making now for the entrance. Afterwards, we're gonna like slightly go over to build our entrance ticket booths very quick. I am integrating them into this building here as we did, so they're gonna be underneath the thatch roof, and that is also pretty much just very basic what I do. I am just adding a few things here and there and making sure that there is this little counter window that you can kind of talk through, and then they can provide you with the ticket to the water park pretty much. So yeah, I'm just kind of like trying to go with that whole woody Polynesian kind of vibe, and not having too much colors in the entrance here, though I do really like how it eventually ends up looking, because it's a very nice immersive entrance. I feel like it became with like the nature we added on, and now this little windows for the ticket booths, and yeah, it just really turned out super great. So yeah, we are finishing off this, and then we're gonna go straight into the Moana thatch hut, and where I'm gonna do some shop interiors and just a little bit of souvenir things that we can have in there as well. So we went into the hut here now, and we are just decorating the last parts of it, and it's nice to have an interior that is like inviting and welcoming too. So that's just pretty much what I'm just doing real quick here. As you can see, I'm skinning the shops here just with some resort pieces that kind of like gets the vibe of being like Polynesian. So I'm putting some signs underneath just what each shop is, and then I kind of like had this idea of covering off the rest of the interior to kind of like make a little souvenir prop situation. So that's kind of like what you've seen me doing here as well. Just pretty much adding a quick kind of like a cabinet for all these souvenirs you can buy. So, and I'm just making them out of like custom and using the scaling. So I'm just finding the smallest pieces I can find and scale down. And that's pretty much just what happens here. So you can see it's quick setup, and just still trying to make it somewhat looking adventurous and kind of like having the Moana vibe inside here. So, but Besides all that, guys, I hope you really like this how-to tutorial on how to kind of like start a new project. We went through pretty much like outlining your park with also finding inspiration through Pinterest or other social media or sources around the internet. But as you can see here, I'm doing the last bit of the interior, and while I do that, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you are curious on how to do other stuff, let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see in the next episode of the Moana Waterpark here, because I kind of have a feeling that I want to do something with the new pool and slides. So, but guys, give it a like and subscribe for more content, and enjoy these cinematics, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye bye.